Wow, look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. This is an image and depiction of the wonders of Mother Nature. I'm sure some of you may not know, but this is a pine tree. And this is what I stumbled across today. Oh my gosh, the energy is just so astounding. Trees play an important role as symbols of strength, kinship, and growth, and also wisdom, because the trees, they hold a lot of wisdom because they've been here for so long, and so they've seen generations and generations come and go. And the trees, along with the forest, have permeated into folklore in many cultures. And these trees are often associated with immortality, steadiness, resilience, and longevity. Because like I said, the trees are often in existence for such a long time. And in many of the ancient cultures, like the Mayans, the Greeks, the Chinese, many of these cultures, they have cosmological attributes to the pine tree and the pine wood. The pine wood was used as commodity, and in the Mayan culture was used as commodity to trade, to build temples and to replenish ritual paraphernalia. Also, the Mayan used pine charcoal instead of the regular charcoal, because the pine charcoal was seen as sacred, and so they preferred the pine charcoal over the material that they use for torches. And in burning pine, as I said, it's also sacred, but it was a sacred food to the deities, and that was a special characteristic or quality attributed to trees. A lot of the trees were used in the ancient cultures as sacred, because trees are sacred. Everything in nature is sacred, but we don't know that. We were not taught that, but everything in nature is sacred. They have a special energy. They hold a specific energy, and the more you connect with Mother Nature, the more you learn from her. And whenever you are taking a stroll and your attention is guided to a particular tree or plant, there's always a reason. There's always a reason. And so today I was guided to this beautiful pine tree. And so the pine tree has so many symbolic and spiritual meanings. And so the pine tree is considered a good sign, because as I stated before, it symbolizes longevity, wisdom, and virtue. And it can also symbolize good times and vacations. The pine tree also symbolizes magic. And so whenever you're walking through the pine trees, you can imagine like fairies and spirit animals floating from branch to branch. And these trees, they inspire us to think more creatively and beyond the bounds of regular mundane physical world. So these pine trees are magical. The pine tree is the symbol of longevity because they live for extremely long times. And some of the species of the pine trees in North America have lived up to 4,000 years or more. And pine trees are very, very hard trees that grow in the roughest terrains, and they can withstand any type of weather, and they remain evergreen throughout different seasons. And so that is symbolic of strength, that is symbolic of power, that is symbolic of just longevity. And so you can relate to that. So whenever you're going through a tough time, think of the pine tree, because it doesn't matter, through the toughest storms, through the toughest weather, you can evolve, and you can rise to the top and flow as high as the pine tree. The pine tree also is symbolic of wisdom because of their old age. And, as you grow older, you get wiser. And so this is why the pine tree is often considered ancient in the forest and the bearers of great wisdom. So I'm so thankful to have been led to this pine tree today. In addition, the pine tree is a symbol of virtue. And we know that virtuous people are also honorable people. And so these trees are also virtuous and honorable. These trees, they are the ones that give us oxygen to breathe. And we use their wood to build homes. They also bring goodness to the world. And without them, many parts of the world would be barren wastelands. They also provide us with nutrients and nourishments, because the needles and the bark of the pine have been used in traditional medicine for different purposes. And you can also use pine oil as mosquito repellent and insect repellent as well. The pine tree also symbolizes good times. So whenever you come across a pine tree, know that good times and joy and peace are ahead. And so be content and be happy. And what can I say about the pine tree? Pine trees are also seen as success, is symbolic of success. So if you see a pine tree in your dream, it can indicate success and opportunities coming your way. If you see a pine tree covered in snow, it may, and this is not always concrete, because symbolism is always subjective, okay? So you have to be able to dissect your dream in order to come up with its own meaning, and that meaning is going to be personal because it's your dream. So now let's talk about the pine cone, which is, it births from the pine tree. So we hear pine, and we also know the word pineal gland, or what we call the third eye. But what I've come to comprehend, the third eye is actually the first eye, because it's up there. If you touch your third eye, this area where they call it the third eye, I think it's the first eye, because then you have the two eyes which form a triangle. So that point at the top, I would think, and this is just from my research, that this is actually our first eye, and this is why it's by itself. And then you have the second eye and third eye, which are the two lower ends of the two eyes you have that are visible. And so that area where you call the pineal gland, that is your first eye, and it forms a triangle. So the pineal gland is, we know once that begins to open and it opens up, it is symbolic of enlightenment, immortality. It is a rebirth. Rebirth meaning not you born again as a baby, but you're birthing yourself into this new person. It is creative energy. It is also masculine energy. The symbolism of the pine cone is fire. So in ancient times, the ancestors would use it to start fire with it. It is also symbolic of protection and fertility. And if we look at the Fibonacci code, which is sacred geometry, the spirals of the pine cone are visible there. It's visible. It's clear sight. It is in clear sight. And so magical, mystical people use the pine cone in grids for spells, to work with masculine energy, and for spell work to increase fertility. Pine cones can also be used for cleansing, purification, and to repel negative energy. If you hang a pine cone in your home or business, it will help to bring success and prosperity. If you hang it over your bed, it can help to ward off illness during the cold winter months. If you keep a pine cone on your altar, it helps to ward off evil influences and negative energies. If you carry a pine cone, it can be used as a fertility charm. It also will be used to maintain strength, health, and energy during old age. Pine cones are also used in rituals to help purify and cleanse a new home, and or help to keep that home on course, and to help you stay on course during difficult times. And if you burn the pine cone or the pine needles, it can help to protect and warm the home. Throughout history, the pine tree and the pine cone has been used to symbolize spiritual consciousness, enlightenment, and everlasting eternal life. Just as these pine cones know when to open up and release their seeds, may you too learn when to open up and release the seeds that no longer serve you. In doing this, also be aware of the needs of the trees, and that we all learn that the overall life process is growth and regeneration.